Hello, Sagittarius. I hope everyone is doing well. This is going to be a different kind of a reading. And now that I've been doing a few readings for everyone, I thought I would clarify a little bit about what type of reader I am now that we're getting comfortable with each other. There are so many readers on YouTube, and I think they all, if you're paying attention, they all seem to attract a certain type of energy. And I mean overall, in general. So I wanted to just clarify the type of reader that I am. The type of reader I am is primarily for people who are in transition. My readers cover a gamut of things, and from love and business and things like that, but I am not the kind of reader who will tell you with every reading your soulmate is coming, everything's going to be fantastic. I just don't do that. I am the type of reader who serves people who are in need, people who are in transition, people who are not sure of what their next steps will be. And you may need me for one reading, you may need me for a year. That is who I serve. That's not to say that you are not welcome. If everything is going great with you, all are welcome here. But I just wanted to be specific in terms of who I tend to serve. And I think that's where my energy tends to hit best. So that being said, Sagittarius, this reading is going to be what they call a shattering false illusion spread, or a tower spread. And I think it's really, really excellent. And it's a small spread, it's an 8-card spread. So the first card talks about what is no longer true for you. And I think what is, well, let's do the whole thing. Let's look at it as a whole. Let's move this up a bit. I think we're just going to move this over a bit. Let's move this over a little bit. There we go. Okay. So, Sagittarius, here are your cards. So the first card talks about what no longer is true for you. And we have the Four of Cups. And I think this is going to talk to you at this point in time about you seem to be looking, looking for, now just give me a moment, please, Sagittarius, because there's something coming in, and I want to make sure that the wording of what I'm seeing is accurate for you. I get the feeling that some of you are confused about taking advice. There's a lot of advice coming in, and you may be confused about which advice to take. You're looking for almost this divine piece of advice to solve a problem, and I think that's also illustrated, by the Ace of Pentacles here underneath, and you can be confused at times. Maybe you have family coming in, family giving you advice, friends giving you advice, and I think this could be in terms of a romantic situation. Maybe you know what you have to do, but you don't really want to do it, and so you're sort of, sometimes in a situation we know what we have to do, but we don't really want to do it, and so we'll sort of put off the inevitable by asking everyone, what do you think I should do? And sometimes we will ask people far out of our circle because we know that they'll give us the answer we want to hear. Do you know what I mean, Sagittarius? We'll ask, we won't ask our best friend because we know they would say, well, that person's a jerk. You know what you have to do. So we'll ask people that are like just far enough out. And they'll say, well, gee, and we'll give them like a sort of distorted version of the story, or a story that paints a person in a better light. And that's what was coming in on this card. There was a little bit more than just what the card was. But I think you're kind of done with that. So I think what is no longer true for you in this moment is wanting to get that distorted picture of things. I think you're ready to go on to this clearer view of things. The next card we have is what wakes me up, and I think these two cards are tied together. I think the truth of things is what is finally waking you up, and I think the reason for that is that you realize that the truth is going to bring you to a higher place. I think you've seen that feeding yourself these distorted versions of things has been keeping you stagnant. And I think you understand that this truth brings you here. And this is fantastic because we see this pentacle show up again. I think you understand that this leads to this. You can't move out of this place where you are. This card talks about sort of illusions going on in your world. And I think that with the Queen of Pentacles, I think this talks about, again, people putting on a good facade, so now you painting people to be something they're not. So again, yes, we want this truth to bring you to this place, but genuinely, we don't we don't want you here because you're painting it to be this way. Do you know what I mean, Sagittarius? We don't want people in your world who come into your world and you invite them in because they dress well, but they have no moral compass. We don't want you keeping people in your world because you portray them this way in conversation, but when you get into a conversation with them, they have a garbage spirit. We don't want this. We want people that are like this sincerely. The Queen of Cups, this card talks about what you need to release. What beliefs you need to release to move on into the next best version of yourself. And I think with everything else here on the table, I think there's a piece of you, Sagittarius, that's a little too, not nurturing, but I think you turn a blind eye to some things a little too long when they're going on. Does that make sense? I think maybe somebody does something that should typically be a red flag, and maybe you kind of, say, well, maybe they were having a bad day, or maybe they didn't mean anything by it. And again, going back to, our first card, where this blind eye, I think this is a bad habit. I think you need to release this notion in your mind that certain people need to just be cut off from your inner circle for things that are minor. That minor things aren't minor. Some minor things are not small offenses. They are indicators of what's to come that will be the forerunners of big offenses in the future. It's okay to judge people. I know in this modern age, people say, oh my God, you can't judge anybody, you can't have an opinion, but that's not true. If you didn't judge anyone, you would be letting everyone into your world, and your world would be a mess. So I think you need to dislodge this notion and this belief that you are not allowed to have an opinion or a thought or anything. I think you need to let this go. That you're not being graceful if you judge someone, if you turn them away. This makes you less gracious, less beautiful, less of anything. I think you need to let that go. This King of Cups talks about new possibilities forming. Again, I think this is your higher self, going from the upside down queen, feeling like you've lost all of your grace and beauty, but the king in the tarot deck is higher, so graduating up to a higher state of mind. And again, there are pentacles and cups all over this, reading. So these are generous, signs of generosity. But I think your generosity has been misguided, and I think this is about getting it straightened out, Sagittarius, putting it in the right place. Opening yourself up. This card talks about opening yourself up, and being inspired. I think communicating, learning how to communicate in a different way, Sagittarius. I think that's what we need to do with you. Instead of going around this person or this situation, I think you need to speak directly to the person. And I think being more firm and more direct with them, which I know can be difficult. I think the reason why we avoid that is because we're afraid of what the consequence will be. And will this person leave? Will they blow up? Will they take something away from me? Will they leave? And then that takes away a security. But creating firm boundaries, you know, I mean, we have the penchant, I mean, this, you know, again, this is where we want to be. So, you know, this is what we need to do. Because I think by confronting someone directly, and you don't have to be rude, I think I think this person's response will inspire you toward that truth. You know, again, we need this truth. We need this to line up better. And I think they will say or do something that will provoke you. I think you're on the edge. You know, you're almost there, but you need something to kind of give you a little push. What gets rid of what you don't need? You do. I mean, you are the, you know, you are the, when you finally decide, you know, that you are moving to this place, you know, and wands again talk about communication. When you get to this point where you decide that you are ready to have this communication, I think that's when, I think the communication, this communication, and it may be in February, there's something in that conversation, but I think you have to find this energy, this strong energy. It may even be in March. You know, we have some flowers here. Spring is coming. Or maybe the upcoming holiday with Valentine's Day doesn't go the way you like, and you kind of stew over that until March. But I mean, you are what gets rid of that. What risk should you take? An argument, the conflict. You know, and again, we have the rods here. I mean, you're going to have to sort your way through these emotions that plague you, these worries that plague you. The risk is to overcome this anxiety about what you'll lose by having this conversation or this confrontation with this person. You're going to have to risk that security blanket, Sagittarius, to get over this worry on your mind. But again, it will bring you here. It will move you into this space. This is not a reading that talks about outcomes. This is just, you know, just to bring you into a higher state. And I think we need to know that this is a risk, but one worth taking. So Sagittarius, thank you for sitting with me for a while. We may talk more in February, but I think these will be the last readings until March. Good luck with this situation. Remember, as you're ready to take these leaps, remember this, this will be you. So just hold this in the back of your mind as this energy starts to creep in. Do not be afraid. Okay. All right. Good luck, Sagittarius. Take care.